Welcome to My Morning Cup, a podcast produced by Costa Media Advisors and presented by Rockpoint Bank and EPB. Rockpoint Bank, from Chattanooga for Chattanooga. And EPB, get EPB's fiber optics for the world's fastest community-wide internet. I'm Mike Costa, your host. My guest this week is Barry Corder. Barry may be best remembered as the entertainment editor and writer for the Times Free Press. Barry, before I get you to name each Bonnaroo headliner since it started, let me ask, what's in your morning cup?
We have been fortunate at my house to be drinking coffee from Bluffview Art District.
Oh, nice. How'd you manage that?
Well, my wife is the innkeeper up there and has been. So
that makes sense.
We've got an in with Will, the roaster over there. So she's been bringing fresh coffee home. What
do you prefer? Do you like a dark roast, light roast?
I'm not that picky. I don't put anything in it. No cream, no milk, nothing. I don't care for flavored. I like the way they smell.
Yeah.
But I don't think they drink well.
Well, see, I drink decaf, as everyone who listens to this knows, and it's great. I love it, but it's part of it is just the ritual of preparing the coffee and smelling the coffee and getting your day started that way.
100%.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. We've known each other quite a while, a couple decades, I guess, since dating back to the paper, and you covered entertainment. And obviously the television stations. And so I've always found you not just as an interesting guy, but a lot of people would look at you and say, man, you had the perfect job.
I had the best job in town. There's no question about it. I've said that for 30 years, 40 years, almost 40 years. There's no doubt.
It got you in a lot of places to see a lot of things, but I want to start where you started, which was Lafayette, Indiana.
Lafayette. Can I say real quick, I just wanted to thank you because you used to call me out of the blue and say, hey, come over, let's talk.
Yeah.
And it was you weren't trying to pump up something you guys were doing. It was just, let's talk about the industry and things are happening. I always appreciated that.
Well, I appreciated you willing to do that because there's not a better way to get me not to shut up for an hour is to talk about broadcasting.
Well, that kind of stuff meant a lot to me, and that's what I appreciated. But yes, my family came from Lafayette, Indiana. My dad, one day in 1967 probably, said, I have shoveled my last driveway. And my mom was pregnant with my sister, who was the fifth of five. We have four boys, and Dad came down and found a house in North Georgia. I'll never forget my mom. I was 5. My mom, we got out the plane, drove, and she said, Bill, what have you done? When we pulled into the driveway, and she put the for sale sign back in the yard, and it took us 2 years to get to Brainerd.
Oh, wow. Now, was there a connection to North Georgia?
No.
So how'd your dad choose that?
He was working for Mayflower and Lafayette Life Insurance. And I guess he just more or less, the old dart on an atlas, he discovered Chattanooga and Volunteer State Life.
And that was before it was cool to discover Chattanooga.
68. So we're, right in the middle of the whole bad atmosphere, the Walter Cronkite, dirtiest city in Chattanooga, in the country, and pulled my brothers out of Catholic school in Lafayette and put them into Rossville High School for 2 years.
What a change that had to be.
That's a whole nother story because they were teenagers. So they would, they were into the Beatles, growing their hair long, go from Lafayette Catholic school to Rossville High School with crew cuts. And
oh, wow.
They got involved in sort of the counterculture a little bit. And then it ended up going from there. We moved to Chattanooga and couldn't get into Notre Dame because the Brainerd High School was being integrated at the time. And so
attendance was up at Notre Dame.
Attendance was up at Notre Dame. And so my brothers in 2 years had quite a life change for 14 and 16-year-olds.
I bet they did. That's such a hard time to move a kid, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked to one of my older brothers, and he said basically the 3 different I can't remember what it was. They went from like Kool-Aid or soda pop to perfume to drugs in 2 years.
Mine's kind of similar. I'm one of 7, and we left New York in 1970 when I was turning 8, and my 2 older brothers were in school in New York, and they insist we grew up differently. And the reality is
Oh,
We
100%.
Yeah, they were the first two, and they experienced not a harder life, but things weren't as good in terms of financial and where
Right.
parents are in terms of their cycle.
Now, me and my younger brother and sister grew up with Ward and Jude Cleaver as parents.
There you
go. My two older brothers would not say that.
Very similar. So, what did your dad have a job when he came here?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was with Volunteer State Life selling credit insurance,
Okay.
which to this day I still don't understand what that is, but that's what he did. And he did that for a long time and moved. When Chubb bought, they moved my mom and dad and sister to Baltimore. And my mom, again, didn't unpack.
I don't blame her.
Literally did not unpack. Cried and cried and cried. That lasted a year. She and my sister came back to Chattanooga and stayed with my oldest brother in an apartment in North Chattanooga until my dad could convince Chubb to send him back down here as senior vice president, which he was till he retired.
Oh, wow. So you grew up in Chattanooga, obviously. Talk a little bit about growing up in Chattanooga, what you did, talk about Notre Dame, sports, jobs.
Yeah, so we moved, like I said, to Brainerd, and then I spent my summers at Cumberland Youth Foundation over there, CYF, lifeguarding, swimming. Mom would drop us off in the morning, and we would stay all afternoon. And
wasn't that great?
It was the best.
Yeah.
And then we would cry and cry and cry because we were starving. We'd go home and eat and then beg to go back. That's what I played baseball there. It was kind of interesting because I went to OLPH, which is just down the street, Moore Road. And so, I had my summer friends and my winter friends, and the two rarely overlapped.
Yeah, that's
for
a good
years.
point.
Yeah, until later in high school.
Did you find that going particularly to Notre Dame or private high school that you had your neighborhood friends and your head school friends?
Yeah, well, they were more summer
More
friends
pool.
because, there weren't many kids in my neighborhood per se, so they were all at the pool. But yes,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. And a lot of them are still friends today. In fact, that's when I was thinking about coming and talking to you, that's sort of a through thread of everything is like Chattanooga is a place where if you try, I think you can meet a lot of contacts and friends, and they stay that way. I've told people, actually, I remember when Bobby Stone, a lot of people will remember, passed away. They had a memorial service for him at the Tivoli. He was so well known that they had to have the Tivoli, and a guy from Knoxville came down, a guy with AC Entertainment, actually, Ted Heining came down. They do Moon River and Bonnaroo, and so people might know Ted. But when he walked in, I said, "You're about to see just how small town Chattanooga is and how incestuous it is." And within seconds, Dixie Fuller walked up. Ted knew Dixie.
Yeah.
Somebody else walked up. I was with the girl who ended up hiring me for my current job, as a matter of fact. And I turned around and there was a guy, and I said, "Oh, do you know?" And she said, "Yeah, we grew up together." And I said, "Well, his mom used to babysit my wife." So, it just round and round and
Isn't
round.
that great, though?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I do too, because you've got those connections. What would you and your buddies do for fun?
All the usual.
Yeah,
Football,
so just-
baseball.
Just out all day
Yeah.
and doing those things. When you decided to go to college, where you head?
Boy, decide makes it sound like I really had a choice. Like I put some thought to it. Because I went to Notre Dame, which was a prep school, there was no question that you were going to go to school.
Right.
All of my friends who are now doctors and lawyers and, smart people went away to school. I went to UTC because it was close and I could get in. And I'm glad I did because I would have wasted a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I spent the first several years finding myself, as they say.
Well, you're just experiencing college.
Yeah. I was on that 6-year program.
What were you majoring in?
Nothing at the time. I knew what I didn't want to do.
And what was that?
Desk.
Yeah. Sit behind a desk or now a computer terminal all day.
Or sales.
Yeah.
I knew that. I did. The only thing I cared about, Mike, was music. And I've told this story many, many times. I especially when I would go to Notre Dame for career day.
Yeah.
Because I would tell the kids, you don't have to know now. And I know I listened to your interview with Christy Mansell, and she said the same thing. I said, boy, that's 100%. I mean, she's now a judge.
Right.
You know, you'd think she had a vision early on, but she didn't.
And she came to law fairly late.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can remember telling my high school English teacher that there's not a thing she was teaching me that I would ever use in a career. So I spent 37 years as a journalist, a writer.
And you still haven't used it.
I still haven't used it. Yeah, my editors would tell you so. There was they have a school paper, and so I would pick it up, and they had a guy who would do record reviews, and he wrote one about David Bowie, who was on the cover of every magazine in the country at the time, and said that it was a terrible record and his career was over, type of thing, and it made me so mad. I went to the office and I said, what do I have to do to write these reviews? And they said, oh, here's a couple records. Take them home and bring us a review. And I said, what do I have to do with the records? And she said, you get to keep them.
Oh, that's a great game.
And I said, I'm in.
That's at UTC, right?
UTC. Yeah. So I started doing that, and the next semester came around, and the feature editor was graduating. Sorry.
Well, they're kind of the same, Barry.
Was leaving, and so I went back and I said, I'd like to apply. And she said, well, you're the only one. You got the job. And like a couple of weeks, this to tell you how naive I am. Like a couple of weeks later, I go in and she said, hey, your stipend check is at the bursar's office. And I said, what's a stipend check? And she said, it pays for your school. And I called my dad, and if he could have reached through the phone and hugged me.
Oh, I bet.
He was so thrilled.
So not only were you doing what you were finding out that you loved, and getting free records,
right?
They were paying you.
Yes. And so I took a couple of feature writing classes with Mike Richards, who people who went to UTC would remember was a great, great teacher. And I just loved it. I found out that I had a voice, I guess. Yeah. I enjoyed writing for the first time, because prior to that, it was just rote. Go to the library and copy an encyclopedia and turn in, spit it back out. Yeah.
Whatever assignment you had.
But it was, I can remember writing a couple of papers and just laughing and thinking, where is this coming from? And I loved it. And so the timing of that, and then I kind of figured out that communications might be my route. Yeah. And I figured that I like TV. My degree is actually broadcast journalism.
I saw that.
And the arena opened in 81. So I graduated high school in 81. So in 80, I started in that fall. Mm-hmm. So when I joined the Echo concerts.
Oh, and they were big in the early 80s, particularly on college campuses.
Yeah, the arena was great. I mean, it was a great time.
Oh, and it's brand new and people wanted to play there.
Yeah. And again, this is how naive. I get a call one day from an agent who said, John Mellencamp has come to the arena. Do you want to do an interview with him? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then she said, do you want to go see the show? And I said, yeah, of course. And I remember going to David Ross, who was the manager then, and said, I've got a ticket, but I'd like to bring my girlfriend, who's now my wife. Can I buy one? I just want it to be next to the one And he said, I tell you what, because you're so nice, I'll give you two. Now, of course, I know there are always two.
Yeah. Well, that's being nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned something to me earlier, something I read earlier, that what got you into music so much were your older brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talk about that.
Absolutely. They were working musicians. My two older brothers, my younger brother became one. He joined a band and did the whole ride around the country in a van too. But my older brothers, Mike and Bob especially is still a working musician. Mike did it for as long as he could, and then went to school and got his degree in computer and taught, and then got a job. But they both still record. Mike has a studio in his basement, and they record a lot of people in town. Mike and Bob Corder, people would know, they were with Musical Moose and Overland Express and several local bands that people would know. But through them, they introduced me to that world here in town. And so
was it kind of like in the scene of Almost Famous when his sister leaves town and she leaves him the record player and the albums underneath the bed?
Everything about it. Yeah. Over the years, their equipment would end up in our basement while they were between apartments or between whatever. So that was cool. Their record crates. I mean, I would sneak over and, discover the James Gang or whoever else that none of my friends were listening to because it wasn't, on the radio or whatever.
And you just mentioned the James Gang. Was that the one that just pops out at you that goes, or was there another band that you discovered through going through your brother's albums?
Oh, I mean, the Beatles were by far. I mean, the Beatles are it in our house. Yeah. Whenever we would get together for Christmas, the Beatles always would come up. The James Gang and like Jethro Tull and some of those were the albums that I discovered, if you will, in their crates, because they're not something I would have purchased.
You put it on, you go, oh, wow, what's this?
Yeah. And then try to put it back where you found it. So,
I still remember where I was the very first time I heard a Cars song because it was so different.
Absolutely.
I think it was Best Friend's Girlfriend.
That's a good,
And it was just so different than anything else you heard at that time.
But, I just looked up to them so much because they were doing something that was cool.
Yeah.
And, we would see them at Christmas and holidays because they're 8 and 10 years older than me. So we're more like cousins.
So your two older brothers are musicians, and you said your younger brother's a musician. So what do you play?
The radio.
There you go.
And not well. Can't do it.
Have you tried?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just don't have the capacity for it.
Can't sing either?
No, can't do it. Partly, it was not easy. Again, my parents, my dad, signed so many bank loans because my brothers would come and say, all we need is one more. If we could just buy this amp or this guitar, it'll put us over. And so he would co-sign loans and then,
That's a good dad.
For a while.
Well, then that becomes a smart dad.
Yeah, and then it became an issue. So when I would come home and say, hey, let's go out in the backyard and throw a football or play basketball, he was, let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever I wanted to do, because he was more of a ball and stick guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't understand the music thing. So
that gets you writing and pursuing entertainment. Did that all through UTC?
Yes.
So when you graduate, what are your plans? Are you wanting to go to a different market? Do you want to stay in Chattanooga?
Well, so if I can go back just a little bit,
absolutely.
my first job was at lifeguarding at Cumberland.
Mm-hmm.
And then while in high school, I got a job at Record Bar thanks to my brother, Bob, who was working there. And that was the coolest job.
Oh, I bet.
Record Bar in Eastgate was the place.
Yeah.
Eastgate was a cool place, but Record Bar was the cool place. And so, again, I met a lot of people that I still know to this day. Got to be in the music world, so to speak, a little bit.
Because the labels would do launch parties at retail record stores.
Sure, and you'd get the records first and early. I mean, I was there during the transition from vinyl and cassette to an 8-track to CDs, right at the tail end, or the beginning of, I guess.
Cassettes and CDs, yeah.
Yeah, when I can remember taking 8-tracks off the shelves, and the shelves get smaller and smaller for 8-tracks,
Did you do what a lot of us, and particularly I did, was when CDs became really big, get rid of your vinyl?
No. In fact, I fought getting CDs. My sister-in-law ended up buying my first CD player. I didn't get one for a year or two, partly because I knew once I did, I was going to get into it or something.
Yeah.
But no, I still have a lot of vinyl. I still have a lot of CDs too. Of course, they would come to the paper. So
yeah.
But after the Record Bar, I got a job at the Brass Register, again through my brothers and their wives, and that was another unbelievable source of introduction to local musicians, the music scene.
Yeah.
I was a busboy, but I got to be there for the Mailmen and the Targets and Overland and, visiting bands. It was great.
And that's when the Brass Register was not the one and only place. I mean, there was Yesterdays, but there was Yesterdays in the Brass Register.
That's right. You had Yesterdays, Tuesday through Thursday was the only place that really had music. And then on weekends, they both did. And you would walk up and down the street to both. You'd hit the BR for happy hour and get food and a cocktail and then wander down yesterday. It was great. But I met a lot of people. And then I'd got it right before I graduated. I got a job at Violet Camera Shop, which was right around the corner on 7th Street. A girl that I had known from Cumberland, she was leaving to get another job and recommended me, and I got that job. And I mention it again because it was a great job working for Herb Cohn. But the contacts, the people that I met, because it was downtown on 7th Street, so everybody would bring their film in. So bankers, industry people, and more importantly, photographers that worked at the paper. Yeah. And about the time I was going to graduate, Bob Nichols came in, who I had known, and he said, well, there's an opening at the paper. You should apply. And I had applied at the Times before that because they were the serious paper and the Free Press. I mean, just the truth. They were the not serious paper, but they were the leading.
Well, wasn't Frank McDonald's theory that if you put pictures of people's kids in the paper,
his dad's, Mr. Roy's theory. Roy McDonald. Everyone in that picture has 20 people that will cut out a copy and mail it to him. That was his theory, and he was right.
And he sold some papers.
He sold a few papers. The Times thing didn't work out. The News Free Press had started the Dalton Advertiser, coincidentally, which was a TMZ, a total market coverage, TMC, one of those weeklies that gets thrown in your driveway that nobody likes. But it had 4 stories on the front twice a week. Had a business story, a sports story, an entertainment type of, and a local something. And so we did that for about a year and then got absorbed essentially into the Free Press. And so I did that. And I can remember Jim Ruth was the entertainment writer, and he was great. He was great to me before I got the job and after. But I straight up told him, I said, I want your job. And he said, well, you can have it when I leave. Yeah. And I got it. June Hatcher was the entertainment editor, and she convinced them to let me leave the features lifestyle department and go over into entertainment. And so that's what I did for the next 35 years, I guess. Did
you realize when you were particularly college and those jobs and making those connections that you were networking?
I think I did eventually. I don't think it was, I kind of did because I remember our professors would talk about that. It's, networking and that information is power type of thing. So pretty quickly I kind of figured out if I didn't know the answer, I knew who to call. And I 100% believe if I have a skill set, that's it. My family teases me that they can't go anywhere that I don't know somebody. And it's true. And it's just because of that, because of all those different places I worked and just, I don't know, being smart enough, I guess, to know, not in a bad way, but just be nice to people. Yeah. And
Well, and also from a reporter standpoint, because a lot of people have adversarial relationships. I can't even speak today. Adversarial. Thank you very much.
There it is. I knew you'd get there.
I was working on it.
I was rooting for you.
I'm glad I came through. Have adversarial.
There
Thank you. Adversarial relationships with reporters. But did you find, with what you were doing in entertainment and music, did you find that as much with people you worked with?
Yes. Yeah. It was never me. I knew those reporters that their first instinct was if they heard something was to doubt it and you think the worst. And they were great reporters. That just wasn't me. Yeah. Especially entertainment. My sort of thing, and maybe it was wrong. I don't care. Because of my brothers and because of knowing all the musicians, I sort of felt like I knew what they were up against. I knew the struggle that it bothered me a lot that, like, for example, I couldn't write about my own family because of the appearances. And I understood that because it looks high school yearbookish.
Yeah.
If you're constantly putting your family's names in there. But it bothered me because they were doing a lot of really cool things. So my sort of approach was to celebrate as best I could the local musicians and entertainers and food people as best I could. When they messed up, they messed up, and I did not, I didn't leave things out, and I didn't alter anything, but I just approached it like, hey, you've got a new record out. Let's talk about it. You know, how can I give you some publicity for your show or your event or your record?
Well, frankly, it's similar to what I tell people who are a little hesitant to be a guest on this podcast. I may have a journalism degree, but I'm not an investigative journalist.
I've said this in 60 Minutes. I've said that for I remember my first interview when I got a job down, like I said, in Dalton, was with the guy who was a couple years younger than me at Notre Dame. It was one of those business features for the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And I knew this guy for years, and I called and said, hey, can I come over? And as soon as I started with the pencil to notepad, it became yes, sir, no, sir. He shut down. Yeah.
He's probably trained to do that at some point.
Scared. I get it now. And you've seen it in TV. You put a microphone in some people and they're a different person. Mm-hmm. I get it. Yeah. Got to be aware of it.
The guardrails go up, which is understandable. And particularly in this day and age where you don't have the gatekeepers you had when it was just 3 TV stations and a few radio stations. Everyone's got a platform today.
Yeah. I learned, and I don't know that I did it thinkingly, but when I did interviews, I never really worked off of a script, so to speak. I might write down a couple of keywords to not forget. But I can't tell you how many times I would get out of an interview and somebody'd say, that's it, we're done. That was more like a conversation than an interview.
Which it should be.
Good. Thank you.
That's what I was after.
I said, that's exactly right. Yeah. I would tell our younger reporters, because you're nervous. Yeah. I get it. So they would have their questions, and I'm like, you've got to learn to listen. Mm-hmm. If you're more focused on making sure you ask your 10 questions than listening to the answers, you're going to miss something really important.
Well, and if you're focused on those 10 questions, the mark of a good interview is you only got to 5 of them because you were listening.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What if the answer to number 1 blow up the other 9? Yeah. I mean, if one takes you down, a great place to go. But that's hard to do. Yeah. For some people.
I think I equate that to sales. What they tell you when you get the order and get the hell out. Yeah. Stop your presentation. Yeah. But wait a second, I got 3 more pages.
That's right. That's right. I got to finish this.
So you leave Dalton at the News Free Press. Talk a little bit about your newspaper career. You start in entertainment, and really what I'm curious about is how the entertainment scene was when you first started to how it evolved to where it is today.
That's a good one. Several things that I saw over the years, the changes when we first started, and I can remember Jim and I, Ruth, having this conversation. We would not write about a musician, say a musical group, unless they had product, like a new record, and it couldn't be self-produced. We were the same way with authors.
Makes sense.
Yeah. If you didn't have a legit record label, we weren't going to talk to you. That changed slowly over the years, partly because the labels changed and a lot of musicians started self-producing, and that was a big shift. The other was sort of the evolution of Christian music. That was a big thing for us, for me anyway, here. The Jars of Clay and the Amy Grants and that became, I always tell this, I don't know if you're familiar with Bruce Cockburn. I love Bruce Cockburn, but he
played him in college.
Did you? Yeah. He had a quote or a theory that Christian music prior was basically a rock and roll song, love song written to a girl, and then the artist found Christ and just changed the name. If it was good.
If it was good.
Mostly it was bad, and it was bad. But that was a big, those guys, the Jars of Clays and Amy Grants, suddenly they were really talented. And so now you've got really good Christian-based music. Yeah. Obviously, Riverbend was a huge shift over the years.
And you saw Riverbend from the start to the finish.
Very beginning to the end, yeah.
Was it accepted initially in terms of, oh, we got this great new thing going on downtown, or was it a little more skeptical of, we'll see how this goes?
Early on, skeptic, because again, downtown there was no reason to go downtown. And so it's always interesting to me to hear sort of the people looking back saying the goal of Riverbend was not to bring people downtown, but that was talked about. It was part of it. That's here nor there, but
may not have been the driving force, but it sure.
Right. And it did it.
Yes, absolutely.
It did it. Skeptic, but then of course the Pointer Sisters event happened, which is legendary, and they
give a little background on that.
I think was that 83? It was early on.
Yeah, it was like one of the first 3 or 4.
Yeah. And at Riverfront Parkway at that time, the city planners didn't think they needed to take the fence down because they weren't going to get that many people. Well, they got so many people that the fence came down, and one of our photographers, Laura Walker, who's about 5'0", tells the story of literally being picked up by the crowd and moved,
Really?
Yeah, not grabbed, just the whole force of people. But that proved proof of concept, basically, to use it proved that people would come and that it could work. Mm-hmm. And then it was, over the years, Riverbend has taken its lumps. It's gotten its kudos, its flowers. They've had good artists. They've had bad artists. They've had good years, bad, but everyone. It lasted 40 years, so
yeah, I don't.
That's
think
a home run in my.
Absolutely, and festivals. It's not that they've run their course. It's just that a lot of Riverbend when it started there weren't a lot of festivals at that time.
That's right.
And now it's almost every city has a festival.
Yes, that's right, and those have changed. Bonnaroo has become a huge part of my life, but it's different in 2026 than it was in 2002. When it started for a lot of ways.
And a lot of reasons.
In fact, we do a weekly podcast about it.
And what is the name of that?
The What Podcast.
The What Podcast?
That's it. It's a terrible name. The stages at Bonnaroo are the what, the which, this, that, and the other. And so when we started, I started it with we were going every year, ended up camping with a bunch of local media bar types, Mike Dewar, Brad Steiner, who was a program director at Hits 96, Brian Stone, the radio guy, just people that I knew, again, from the local. We would camp together, and Brad and I were having lunch regularly and discovered that we were talking about Bonnaroo year-round. And I said, we should do a Facebook Live thing. And his eyes lit up, and that was a Friday. He called me Sunday and said, I have a website. I have a name. I've got a producer. We're going to do a show for 3 months because it was back up in May so we had 3 months before June.
And what year is this?
2018.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, we'll just do it for fun. We'll talk about the bands that nobody's heard of because it was a pretty weak lineup as far as that goes. We looked at it and, of the 100 artists, we knew 30 type of thing. And so we thought, well, let's talk about we'll do discovery type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Called Bonnaroo, and they said, we love the idea. You can do whatever you want. You can't use Bonnaroo in the name, and you can't use any of our graphics. And we said, cool, but we'll help you any other way we can. So the what became the name, and now we have to explain
but
over.
You've been doing it 9 years?
Yeah.
Every week?
Every week.
Where can people find the podcast?
Everywhere.
All the normal places.
All the platforms. We're on YouTube, everywhere. It's Brian Stone and I now. Brad moved to first New Orleans and then New York, and so his schedule just got too much. And he hasn't been in a couple of years, so he just didn't feel right doing it. So Brian Stone stepped in, and Russ Jackson is the producer. And we've gone, thanks to the contacts we met there, we've covered Shaky Knees in Atlanta, Moon River, of course, here. But we've made friends with the people inside that industry, and they come to us. We like doing the deep dive stuff. It's not just a music fan type of thing. It's how do you get 80,000 people on a 700-acre farm in Manchester in June for a week, type of stuff.
Very carefully.
Yes. Very, very warmly.
Yeah. It's a music question. I don't want to compare and contrast Riverbend and Bonnaroo because they're different animals. But to a degree, did Riverbend help pave the way for Bonnaroo, and did Bonnaroo help expedite the end of Riverbend?
Yes.
Or expedite. God,
yeah.
Adversarial, expedite.
Yeah. That's an interesting. The second one I can answer definitively. Yes, it did. The first one I hadn't really thought about, probably because a lot, like you said, a lot of cities, when Riverbend had some success, Atlanta started having its city festivals, Birmingham had several, Knoxville.
Yeah.
And they, weather killed them.
Yeah.
It's so expensive, and just having a back-to-back years of rainouts could kill you.
And you can't make it up. If that night rains out. The other thing I found interesting about Riverbend was the way they went about getting artists before festivals were in Atlanta and Knoxville. You generally, Chattanooga was kind of in that hammock in between Atlanta and Nashville and Knoxville and Birmingham, and would get someone coming through who might have Chattanooga, that's a challenge. It's more of a challenge than a benefit. And I think that's not a misnomer, but I've heard that a lot, that people think, oh, well, because we're between Knoxville, Atlanta, and Birmingham, that we can get those people coming through. And I used to actually say that on our show, and we ended up interviewing a couple of big-time promoters who work with the Live Nations and the C3s, and one of them said, "Yeah, Barry, I've heard you say that before. That's not true. We do 90 mile or 9 hours basically. We don't like to book shows 2 and 3 hours apart because you're drawing basically from the same region." So that was kind of new to me. So in that way, what Riverbend managed to do was very, very smart. They didn't try to get the A-list artists because they couldn't. They could not have, for multiple reasons. The promoters weren't going to book them, and they couldn't afford it. And so the Birminghams and the Atlantas did get those. And so when they got hit with rain, it was a bigger hit. Yeah.
And so the Riverbend formula worked for many, many, many years. To answer your question about when Bonnaroo came online, in my opinion, it showed fans, people like me, what a festival could be like. And it was modeled after the Glastonburys of the world. It was not modeled after the Riverbends. Mm-hmm. It wanted to be a big-time, world-class event, and it is. And so while they were completely different types of festivals, and I wrote that many, many times, and Chip Baker, the director of Riverbend, would point that out, and Ashley Capps, the co-founder of Bonnaroo, would say that we're not the same. Bonnaroo is a camping festival. It's a multi-day, big-time headliner type, and
it's an immersive experience.
100%. Riverbend's a city festival. You go at night after work, you watch 3 or 4 hours of music, and you go home. They're just completely different. However, because of what Bonnaroo did, and suddenly in Moon River, that was another big change. Moon River comes to Chattanooga, and Chattanoogaans are, sort of looking around like, oh, that's what a festival looks like today. And so Riverbend, in my opinion, just didn't change. Mm-hmm. It didn't adapt. It wanted to be what it was in the 80s, and it just couldn't function.
Do you remember who the first headliner of Bonnaroo was?
Fish,
And
which was on purpose.
yeah, because they've got the loyal fans, and
Which would camp.
sweaty
Hippies would, and they did.
a lot of patchouli.
A lot of patchouli, and a lot of people don't remember. They didn't spend one dime on marketing that first year and sold out.
So what did you think about hearing about this new festival? What
When I first heard, I saw the lineup and I thought that sounds horrible. Camping in a 700-acre farm in Manchester in June with sweaty hippies. I got to work that morning, Thursday morning. I guess it had to have been. I don't think it was Wednesday yet. And our editor, Tom Griscom, said, you and Tim Barber get in the car and go up there. There's traffic jam from here to Monteagle or Murphy or Manchester. And so my thought was, this is my nightmare. I'm going to be stuck in a car on the freeway waiting to get in. And we drove right to the Holiday Inn up there, and people know what I'm talking about, and got our credentials, and everybody was super nice, and they golf carted us in, and we walked into the center area, Bonnaroo, and there was a big tree, and people were sitting underneath it with a inflatable bong. I've never seen one before. It was like a 2-piece thing, and they were passing this thing around. And I looked at Tim and I said, "This is different.
We're not in Chattanooga anymore."
We're not in Chattanooga anymore." And we hung out, and man, he got a hotel room there so he could send pictures back. And I came home that night and I told my wife, I said, "I want to go back. That's awesome." And then the next year, a couple of younger reporters wanted to go. Okay. And I thought, well, I don't have a tent. I don't want to camp. Have at it, And then in 2007, our editor called me in and said, "We can't keep sending these hourly people up there for 5 days. Who do you think we should send?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess it's me." And I'm not kidding, Mike. I would have night sweats.
Would you?
Thinking, I did more research on how to survive. I thought I was going to a third world country. It was like, you got to pack this much food. You need the right shoes, the right clothes. There were tips. The internet was not really a thing, not like now anyway, but there were some Reddit type, it was Inforoo, I think, or so you could get tips. And I did it. I overpacked. I was there. I could have survived 6 months, I think, with food. And now it's like, there's a Walmart down the street. You'll survive. And they got everything there that you need. It's still tough. I'm not going to lie, but they've adapted. There's flushable toilets now and showers. The FEMA showers are amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a different place.
It's still the sweaty hippies to a great degree, but you've got better accommodations. And Bonnaroo wouldn't provide you any accommodations. You were on your own, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that first year, when I went in 2007, I had a truck. I had a pup tent. Not even I couldn't stand up in it and change clothes. It was a pup tent. And it rained, and I was convinced I was going to die. But the only other thing I had was 2 plastic sawhorses and a piece of plywood that I think just happened to be in the back of my truck. I didn't have any tarp or shade. I had an umbrella that I bungee corded to the top of that table, and me and the photographer would rotate as the shade, as the sun moved.
Kind of like being on the beach with you.
It was bad. But to contrast that, so this year we've been able to give away tickets as part of the podcast. The festival gives us a couple of tickets and a camping pass. And so we had this year, and we had almost 400 entries.
Wow.
Which was huge.
Yeah.
But the bigger thing was, it wasn't just, we asked people, tell us why you should win. And we asked them to either give us a phone call or email. And of those, probably, 70% were hey, I don't really want these for me. I want these for my sister, my brother, or my wife, or somebody who needs to go or hasn't ever been. It was really amazing.
That's a good response.
The woman that we won, she called us 38 times. She would call us from work and just say, hey, I'm on break. Just wanted to say hi. I told you I'd call back. She announced that she was engaged. And then about 2 weeks before we chose the winner, she said, I just took a pregnancy test and found out we're pregnant. So, but she was the clear winner.
Yeah.
It was, but my point is it's become this whole thing. You know, it wasn't just, hey, I want to go see Tom Petty.
Yeah.
It's, I need this community.
Experience.
Yeah. This community means so much and so accepting and it's just different.
And if you think about something like Bonnaroo, and I haven't been, but what you think about it, as you said, it's not the acts. It really doesn't matter who the acts are.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And I'm sure originally it did. I want to go back a little bit about your time on the paper and talking about the local music scene.
Sure.
Really the overall media, because it changed tremendously in your time when you started with the paper to when you left. Can you talk a little bit how media has changed from not just only having the big 3 television stations and those voice of God anchors to where we are today, both in traditional media, being newspaper, TV, and radio?
Sure. Yeah, it was, let's see, before COVID, AC Entertainment the city got out of the venue business and sold the Tivoli and Memorial Auditorium. Not sold, basically created a foundation which now runs it, the Tivoli Foundation. They brought in AC Entertainment, again, the same people that did Bonnaroo and Moon River. Prior to that, or about the same time, Monica Kinsey and Adam opened up the venue at the Choo Choo.
Was that Track 29?
Track 29. Yeah. Thank you. I was having a moment there. Those things, timing is everything.
Yeah.
Track 29 opened, and because of the work that Mike Dewar and others had been doing it, like at JJ's and all that, sort of were bringing in out-of-town people. Track 29 hit just right and proved that people like Jack White would come and to do a sellout show at Track 29. Alabama Shakes blew up there. So there's all of a sudden people are like, Chattanooga? Out-of-town people figured out they could come here, park their car, go to a venue like that, have a nice meal, have a nice weekend, and not have to get a cab or, an Uber and all those sorts of things. And the big thing that I noticed was I was calling agents or getting calls from agents from Atlanta or Knoxville or Birmingham who said, hey, I just spent the weekend in Chattanooga. And I was like, you're kidding. That was a real eye-opener for me.
We got you.
Yeah. I was like, wow. And they said just what I just said. Yeah, we can come. Everything is downtown. We can have a great time. And the Tivoli opened, started bringing in the bigger shows. Mm-hmm. And then they, I don't know if you know this. I mean, I don't think I'm breaking any news, but the city tried to give Memorial Auditorium to UTC.
Oh, I know.
For like $1. Just, you can have it. And they said no. And so it was not on AC's priority list.
Yeah. It's a great venue, though. There's not a bad seat in there.
And so once they committed, the idea of refurbishing the Walker Theater came on board. And I know from internal conversations that not everyone was happy with that. They didn't think an upstairs venue that nobody knew about would do well.
Oh, that's where I've seen Todd Snyder 3 or 4 times.
It pushed them over financially. They went from, in the red to in the black after bringing it on board. And my point in all that is right before COVID, the city was moving right along. Things were really happening. Everyone was making money, and then it just sort of changed. And not just the venues, but media. Like we changed at the paper. Yeah. Online became the way. I'll be honest, I think we at the paper were slow to react. We did come out with our weekly magazine, which did well, but it didn't make the money that, you would hope. It didn't make the money that it might have 10, 15 years ago when the newspaper and TV were printing, literally printing money.
Should have made hay when the sun was shining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we allowed the internet to sort of take over and cost us, quite honestly. So where is the coverage today? I have people ask me all the time, I didn't know that show was in town. I didn't hear about it. And I don't think we have real outlets other than social media.
Yeah. I'd agree with you on that. How is it from a local musician perspective?
Tough. It's very difficult. They've done surveys, Barry White and his group did a couple of surveys, and they found just what you would think. We wish we had more venues. We wish we had local venues. I've had that argument with local musicians for 40 years. They'll say these venues should allow local musicians to play there, and I would say, well, they're a business. Yeah. They're not a charity. You bring the crowd, you can play there. Well, they need to let us play. Well, that's not how it works.
What comes first, the crowd or the?
Correct. Yeah. And so Soundcore, that was one of the things when they came on board, that was their goal, was to sort of educate the musicians on how to get paid, basically. Yeah. That was their stated, how do we present ourselves better and be professionals? And they did a lot of good work. But it's still, that's the struggle. It's, if you don't have a crowd, you can't make money. The venue can't make money.
No one wins.
No one wins. So I can remember back going to Monica Kinsey that when Track 29, we had this discussion, and she said there was some example of a local band who wanted to play, and she booked them, and then they had like 20 or 30 people on their guest list who wanted in for free. Yeah. And
that's a non-starter.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the one and only time.
Yeah.
No more of that. And then the musicians look at it like it's her fault, and they don't understand. So that honestly has been a conversation that I've had with musicians for 40 years.
And it's a similar conversation that every newspaper's had, every radio station had, every television station had, because it was all there.
Yeah.
And now it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved what I did. I loved writing about the local scene. I think we did a great job when the magazine went away. It broke my heart when I left the paper. I can remember a couple weeks after being gone, sitting there thinking, and this is not meant in any way arrogant, but I just remember thinking, what a loss of institutional knowledge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, 40 years gone.
I couldn't
Nobody
agree
knows,
And that leads to this question. What are you doing now?
So I knew about 4 or 5 years ago that my time at the paper and in that industry was done. The only thing that kept me going was like the Bonnaroos of the world and the podcast, to be honest. The paper did not pay well. I can remember doing my taxes, thinking I need to not only thank my wife, but apologize to my wife, because I did have the best job in the world, but it didn't pay well. And then I realized, Mike, and you'll appreciate this, in about 1.5 years' time, I got to interview Graham Nash, Brian Wilson, Alice Cooper, Steve Martin, and Martin Short, and one other. And I just thought, what else is there to do?
Well, that's the cool thing.
I've done it.
Because you said something very important. It didn't pay well, but I had the best job in the world.
100%.
That's that passion.
100%. Yeah. So I was fortunate that a couple of people that were longtime friends that I knew and actually introduced, and they're now married at the paper, he left. She'd been gone. He left. She was the director of the Northwest Georgia Regional Library System. Mm-hmm. She knew that I was looking, so she kept thinking and trying and plugging away, and finally found a spot for me. So I'm in the administration office of the Northwest Georgia Regional Library System. Basically, we do, because it's so small, there's like 5 of us. Mm-hmm. I do everything from payroll to delivery type of things to my main job is facilities. We just last Friday signed the contract to start building a $4 million pavilion, reading pavilion patio on the Dalton building. Yeah. And so that's the main thing that I'm doing.
And they grabbed all your institutional knowledge.
It's been really interesting thinking about coming here this morning to talk to you. I know about 5 people in Dalton. So it's been kind of fun to compare and contrast and see if I can do it again type of thing.
You can keep a low profile and people go.
That much, but if I can, start that networking all over again.
Well, I have no doubt you will.
It's been fun. Yeah. It's a great place to work.
Before I get to the last question, Barry, I want to remind our listeners who makes My Morning Cup possible. And it's a big thank you to our presenting sponsors, EPB and Rockpoint Bank. EPB, get EPB fiber optics for the world's fastest community-wide internet. And Rockpoint Bank, your local banking partner, your business, your bank, your future. All right, Barry, the last question I ask everyone, and I think I know where you're going to go with this answer, but I'm going to let you answer it. What would you tell that 25-year-old Barry Quarter's important for a happy life?
Do what you like. But try to make money at it. And I don't know if I have that answer yet. That and pay more attention in that English class.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But you had good editors.
I had wonderful editors. Lisa Denton is the best. Alex Chambliss. Alex is the one who kind of helped me where I am now. Real funny, I would send to him a story. I'd call and say, hey, story's in, and he would look at it, and I'd say, is it okay? And he said, it is now.
but and I talked about this just a minute ago. The do what you are passionate about. I think is so important, because you and I are about the same age, and you get to this age, and you don't want to wake up when you're 40 or 50 or 60 and go, I made a lot of money, but boy, was I miserable.
Yeah, I feel a couple of ways about that. I was at breakfast with James Rogers, and we were talking about opportunities and chances. And I said, I feel like I'm that guy who would walk into the room and the doors and windows are all open for me, figuratively. And I'd say, man, why are we heating the outdoors? Close all these doors and windows. Because I can't tell you how many things I missed. But I also, when I would do the career day type of things, I would tell the kids, I'm a perfect example. I love music, but I can't play the radio, literally. But there are careers within careers within careers. If you love sports, but you're not going to be a quarterback, there's attorneys, there's coaches, there's media people. There are all kinds of jobs adjacent to it.
Well, and that's such an excellent point, because I experienced the same thing. I got out of school with a journalism degree, public relations degree, went in a family business selling forklifts. And I wanted to get back into media, and I did that on the sales end. Yeah. You don't have to be behind the microphone. You don't have to be in front of the camera. There's plenty of support staff, and actually probably jobs with a little more security.
For sure. Yeah, the TV thing, I interned at 12 when I was at UTC, and all the reporters were I was a weekend intern, and they were all coming in doing their tapes, their
trying to go somewhere else.
Their resume tapes, and I'm like, these guys all want to leave. I don't want to move.
Right.
That wasn't for me. So I got out of that pretty quick. I'm not saying I would have ever done well at it anyway, but I knew I wasn't going to move.
I think you found your happy place, and
100%.
I think Chattanooga's better for it, and I really enjoyed working with you over the years that I was at Channel 9, and we would talk about a lot of different things, particularly media, and I find it fascinating.
Thank you. Same here. I enjoyed our conversations. It meant a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you came in today, Barry.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to My Morning Cup, a podcast by Costa Media Advisors. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. I release a new episode each week, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts.